Hello, I'm Dan Roberts, and today I'm going to show you how to get started using the Washington Radio Reports cloud-based software, WRRonline. Now, this is just half of our service. With a subscription, you get nationwide access to the FCC and Canadian data using this site, but you also get our weekly license activity reports that show you FCC activity and deadlines within your local area. And that's just a list of counties that you set up. If you don't already have a user ID and password, you can just contact us at 770-366-3389 and we'll get you set up. If you're not currently a customer, just call that same number and just tell me you want to do a demo and we'll set up one of these. I've got these set up for most organizations that utilize the FCC data. So, and if we don't have one, we'll set one up. Anyway, so today I just want to go through this site and just show you some of the capabilities here. It doesn't matter if you're a two-way radio dealer or a government organization or manufacturer. There's a lot of different ways of using this. I'll show you how you can use it to find prospects if you're a dealer, and how to look up licenses, how to use this for researching and co-channel searches, the rest of you. Okay, so we update our database every night from the FCC, and then after we do that, we update these statistics. And these are just showing you a list of counties that you've given us. Now, if you're a state government, it would probably be all the counties in your state, plus maybe some around the border, because if something changes there, you want to know about it as well. But whatever that is, you have a list of a market definition. In my case, this is just some South Florida counties that are for them. And you can, we'll set that up however you need to. Okay, so the searching is typically done over here under searches, custom search. So let's just get there and I go through this screen and just show you what I recommend, to get you started. So the idea of this screen is it's got all these different fields, and don't let that intimidate you. You just pick the fields that you need to use for a particular search. And as you pick them or enter data, it will go into this box over here called the search criteria box. Then when we're done, we're going to hit the green search arrow, and that'll bring up your results. And I mentioned those favorite counties earlier. Well, with one click, we can load all those. So that's why that's really a neat feature. Imagine if you had all the counties, a state plus 12 counties surrounding you, all of those as your favorites, one click and you could load all those in. Or if you have counties in two different states, like Missouri, Illinois, or around the St. Louis metro or any other major city that's got a market on both sides. There's no problem spanning more than one state. Okay, so it's easy to pick a set of counties, but you can always search nationwide by just going up here and saying, well, today I also need, Illinois, and I want to pick a couple of counties there too. So I'm just randomly going to pick a county. That's what's up in Chicago, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm saying my geographic area for this search is, 4 counties in Florida and 1 randomly in Illinois. Probably doesn't make sense, but that's fine. Just want to show you can do this. And then depending on what you're looking for, maybe you're looking up a certain license, well, then you'd put in some criteria about that license. Maybe it's frequency or the radio service codes. But if you're prospecting, you might want to use our vertical markets. It's just a great list here. Education, healthcare, golf courses, public safety, transportation, utilities. Let's just use education as an example here. And the only other criteria I recommend when you're prospecting is down here under options, statuses. Choose active only at first, because the other ones might be good prospects, but they're probably, the person's no longer there, because the license is good for 10 years that it'll be active. And then if they don't renew it or they cancel it, it's going to be one of those other statuses. Okay, so just these 3 criteria, your favorite counties, the active licenses, and educational ones. You hit the green search arrow, and that's going to create the results. Now watch up here, and this will open a new tab when I do that with the results. So if I wanted to go back here and add something else, I can just go to that tab. But this one, it was spinning for a few seconds there, and it came back with the results. And the default is that it comes back in the summary view. Okay, and you can see all the different fields here that come with that, including the expiration date. The license is good for 10 years, so this is showing you all of them. We didn't put any criteria on that, but look how many we got, 825. It's a lot of data. So you could just close that and say, well, that's too many. I need to whittle that down to something a little bit more usable. And I'm going to go ahead and take Cook County out of here. I don't really need that. But even with that, if I did just those South Florida ones, I'm at 333. Well, you might say, well, how can I make that list better? Well, let's change that and say I only want the ones that have an expiration coming up in the next 6 months. Now you can put in whatever date period you want. Sometimes you want to go back a couple of months, even if they've already expired, I still want to see them, and 6 months forward. So you can pick your own date period here if you want to. So that'll trim that list all the way down to 9. Okay, so these, if maybe you only had the rest of today to make some phone calls, this would be a good way of trimming it down to a more manageable list. All of them expiring in the next 6 months. Now, another way of limiting your search there, instead of using the expiration date, and you can combine these together, but I'm going to take the one out and just do this, is under filters here. A lot of filters we've got. For instance, you can look at just those that have the TDMA technology or FDMA, public safety. But this is the one I wanted to show you today, analog only. These are the ones that their emissions designators indicate that they're only using analog radios. Now, maybe they did convert to digital, but they didn't update their license if they did. Okay, so analog educational licensees within these 4 counties. Look at that, 126 of these. And this is a good opportunity to tell them about your new digital two-way radios and the features that they have, the apps that come along with it, clearer voice, all that. And you may notice my notes here. This is a way of personalizing our data. So you can go in here and just double click on this. And this is just a test note. And so, you can see what you've done in the past. And these are protected within your company, so nobody else can see them. Anybody in your company can see them. I mean, you can color code them maybe to mean certain things. But all of these things are searchable, including, you see, like this one's tagged as my customer. That's just a little tag there. That's how you can identify that as your customer. Go back to the search screen. All of those things are searchable down here. I could search on my initials, for instance, just put DLR in there, and it would find the ones that had my initials. But notice it's a red note. So instead of that, I could say, well, just show me my red notes. Just click on red. Or you can go up here and say, search on the ones that are my customers. So all those are searchable once you enter that data. That's just a way, like I say, that we make this more personalized for each customer. And again, nobody else can see your notes or your tagging of what's your customer, what's not. But once you do that, you can go through here and say, I only want to look at my customers or exclude my customers. And we intend to do a whole lot more with this area here in the future. Okay, once you get a search just the way you want it, you can save that search by just clicking on Save Search here, and just call it Test 2. And the idea of that, of course, is that if you come in tomorrow and want to pick up where you were at, you just go to this little drop down, and it'd be at the bottom of the list. Test 2, be your most recent search. And it pops it right back in there. You're ready to go. Let's say we wanted all of the educational licenses that were active there in the 4 counties, and you wanted to do a mailing list of this. So you don't want to have to drill into each one and look at the license. That's what the details will do. You want to get a mailing list of these. So you can just go over here to the format and say, I want the mailing list view. So it reruns this same search, but now instead of showing you the call sign, where they're at, when do they expire, how many units, it's now showing you just company name, contact name, phone number, email. And this is all for the licensee, not the contact licensee. Okay, and if you want to export that, there's a little button here for download. In some browsers, it may say, do you want to open or save? Just say open. In Chrome, you saw what it looked like there. I just clicked on the link and it opens it up. It shows me that there's a README and a couple of data files. Just double click on this one that says Excel. So that quick, we've got that data down onto our local PC. And from here, you can use any of the Excel features and save this though. File save as, and change that CSV to an XLS file. Some of you may wonder, why are we seeing some near duplicates in here, the same company or school twice? Well, they might have multiple locations. Hillsborough County Public Schools, here's their different locations. Maybe there's a bus network, there's a administration, the cafeteria, who knows, and within the different schools, of course. I mentioned earlier that you wanted to see Anclote High School. You want to see the details of that. You just click details here. And this basically is going out and doing a virtual license that the FCC has on their site. But this is just showing you our rendition of that, just showing you more of the fields that, are the most common ones. And here's your customer, or maybe your own license. And then this is the contact licensee. So this is who the FCC should contact if they have any questions about this license, if there's any complaint or they see something wrong with it. And so sometimes it's going to show you a radio dealer, but sometimes it'll show you a licensing company or a law firm, or it might be blank. It's an optional field. Also up here, you see the radio service code explained, that this is a business conventional system. And that's the code that's over here. You're seeing the IG radio service code. And it tells you if it's business or public safety. Is it trunked or conventional? And on down, of course, you see the control point and any of the transmitters on this license. And each of them has frequencies and at least one emissions designator. Okay, so that's just an example of how you could use this for prospecting. Many, many ways of filtering that, getting it down to maybe just those that have more than 20 radios licensed, or just those that have that 7K TDMA technology on their license. Now, you can also use this for research. And so if you were looking for all of your licenses in your American Airlines, for instance, you could go in under licensee name. Okay, notice there's a licensee name and contact licensee. I mentioned that one earlier. But this would be something like American Air. And the star is our wild card, not the 8, the star. And upper lower doesn't matter there. So we're just looking nationwide for any license that's got Amer and Air. Now we're going to get some here that we don't really want. Might have that name, Ameripark, for instance. Okay, maybe that's not something you want. America West, you don't want that either. So I maybe could have done that search a little different, but I'd rather get too many than not enough. And again, you can export this as well, and you put this into an Excel file. 913 hits. By default, we show you the first 100. You can change that to all if you want to see all 913 of them. And you might say, oh, well, really all I wanted to look at were those that were in California. And so you up here under transmitter state, you just say, just show me the ones that have a transmitter in California. So you see it's fast, it's easy to just pop around here and get the data you want. You might say, well, I really only wanted to look at the active ones. Those old ones, again, I'm really not interested in. But if you're looking for a particular license, don't put too much criteria in at first, because you might exclude it by doing something like saying active and it's recently expired. If you're looking for a license, another thing about if you're researching licenses, sometimes they can't find a license. Somebody thinks they've got a license, but you just can't find it. One way of doing that is to look under the street address. If you know that they're in a certain state, and that ought to be pretty easy. You know it's in Missouri. You don't even know for sure what city it's in, but you know the street has the word Ashby in it. You just surround that with the star, which again is our wild card. So any license that's on Ashby Road in Missouri. Okay, now this doesn't show that field, but if I go over here to the third view, you've seen summary and mailing. Let's go to detailed view. And you see here's the transmitter street field is right up here. A lot of data on this, I understand, but this is what we searched on. I just wanted you to be able to see that all these have the word Ashby in them. So that's a good way of locating a specific license. Geographically, I talked about counties only, but you can also search for licenses based on the licensee's address. This is more like the brick and mortar address of a licensee, their licensing address, not where their transmitter is. Think of like FedEx. All of their licenses would probably have a zip code in Memphis for their licensee address, but they've got transmitters all over the country or wherever they have terminals. Okay, and then another way of searching geographically is a radius around a center point. Now, let's say that you're in Nashville. So you could just put in a zip code for Nashville, somewhere center point of where you're looking. And let's say you're looking for any license that's in that area, let's say 20 miles around there. So that's all you got to do. Put in the zip code. It pops up the coordinates for that post office building. And then I put in the number of miles. And if you want to use kilometers, you can do that. Okay, so that's looking for any license, but you're going to get a lot of data there, obviously. And so maybe you're limiting that by something such as a company name, or in this case, I'm going to go back to prospecting and say who's expiring, whose license is expiring in the next 6 months, and hit search. So it's again another good way of prospecting. I'm going to go back to the summary view, a little easier to look at. The detailed one shows you a line for every frequency on every transmitter on every license. So you're getting, a 5-channel system on 2 locations. You're going to get 10 records, where here you'd get 1. Okay, so all these are expiring in the next 6 months, and they're located somewhere within. If we go back to the detailed again, though, you'll see how far away they are over here, distance field. Now this is sorted by frequency and then distance. So in this case, you might want to take frequency off of this and get the very closest one first. So Tootsie's and Tennessee Department of Safety. And again, you can limit this with other criteria if you wanted to. Now another way of using this radius search is for a co-channel search. This is where somebody's having interference on a channel. And so you can put in a zip code again, but it's more meaningful to take the license where you're getting that interference. I'm just going to use an example here. And when you put in the coordinate or the call sign, it comes back with the coordinates of that transmitter. Now, if it has multiple transmitters, it popped up a little screen here, and it would have stayed on the screen if we needed to make a choice of which one. And here we're looking for like 55 miles. Who's causing us interference on a specific frequency? So down here, I'm going to give a frequency as my only other criteria. And then hit search. So that comes back sorted by frequency and distance. So if I did do more frequencies, it would do the first one and then the second one. And ground zero is my customer, Belmead Country Club in this example. And so this is showing me that the first co-channel is 1 mile away. Now I didn't say active only on this because I want the ones that are expired. Maybe they just recently expired and they're still using the system. They don't know it expired or they don't care. And so in this case, that's expired so long ago, it shouldn't be an issue. But this shows me that the first active co-channel is about 4 miles away, the St. Bernard Academy. And so I think you can see how you would use this to find who is causing you potential interference. It's also a good way when your coordinator gives you potential frequencies. You got a new license and they say, well, here's 5, pick 2 of those. Instead of testing all 5 immediately out in the field, you could just go in here and put all 5 frequencies in here. You could just down here add another frequency, 451.15, and just continue to add frequencies. Do the same search again, and it would come back with the first frequency, and then it would get to the next one. So that's a good way of looking up which one looks better on paper anyway. I said about that we like to make this as personalized as possible. And so you can always add those notes to these. I think I made the point earlier that the notes are protected so that nobody else sees them. It's just for your use only. So let's just go through that. Let's just say that this Harpeth Hall School is your customer. You can just double click on that and hit the little tag symbol, and that identifies it as your customer. And you can also put notes in here in this little box. Something like 12, type right today, test note, and I'll put my initials. All of that is searchable. I can search for any license that's got the letters DLR, and I can color code it to whatever I want. I was going to show you how you can search now on any license that has a yellow note, or it has DLR, or is my customer. All these are searchable items up here. Show me all of my yellow notes, for instance. just a way of personalizing the data. Okay, the other field I'd mentioned earlier is that contact licensing. I wanted to just go into that a little bit more because especially if you're looking for all the licenses that you've tagged at the FCC as your, with your name, your company. So if you're a dealer, you might have, I think government entities probably would do the same thing, but it's just a way of doing this. And just to give you an example, I'm gonna use a company that's out of business called Coastal Electronics. And so might put some stars in here. I always like these just in case people put an extra space in or something. There's so much trash in the FCC data that I like using a wildcard. So any license that has the word Coastal Electronics in there. Now, a lot of these are going to be expired, terminated, canceled. But let's just see if there are any licenses that still have that company name that are active. Yeah, there's two of them. So Corning and East Carolina University. So maybe somebody's bought them out. I don't know. But the reason I remember this is this particular company. It came up. Somebody asked me about that, and I said, yeah, you can look it up. And so, but I didn't have it on the screen at the time, so we've added it since then. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you today. And if, like I said, if you don't have an account right now, just let us know. We'll do a webinar like this where all the data will be that we see in the examples will be in your local market area. So I'll be glad to do one of those for you. And it just take a few minutes to set it up. So I'll just write my name and information up here in case you're seeing this and don't really know how to contact us. You can use this, and I'll put my email here as well, droberts@WRRonline.com. So I hope that helped. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact me at that number, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.